Is Jordan Palestine? That's something that a lot of people,
God.
I've heard some people make the claim that the British owned, British Mandate Palestine was initially what is Israel on the West Bank and Gaza and Jordan.
Yeah.
And some people say, you know what, the vast majority of that was Jordan. That is the Arab state in a sense, you know.
Okay, so and even I would even add to that, right? Early on, when it was divided, right, and it became known as actually Western Palestine, which was the territory between the river and the sea, and Eastern Palestine, and then it very quickly took on the name Transjordan.
But apparently, is the reason why it's called the West Bank?
Yes,
because it's the West for it was.
The Jordanians named it. The Jordanians named it in 1949 as because it was the only part of Jordan that now sat on the west bank of the Jordan River. Right. That was also the moment where Jordan dropped the trans in front of their name.
Right.
And they were no longer Transjordan, they were Jordan. Why? Because trans on the other side of the Jordan. And now they were on both sides of the Jordan. So it became Jordan and not Transjordan. Yes, all true, all factually correct.
Yeah.
But today, let's look at the facts. Jordan today has a population that is absolutely a majority Palestinian.
Right.
Until there is a Palestinian government in place in Jordan, we can't call it Palestine.
Let's just say that was to happen. There was a Palestine suddenly.
Then it would be a Palestinian state. Then it would be a Palestinian state. But as of right now, I don't see the Hashemites ever giving up their control over the Jordanian territory. Let's just be real about reality. That is the case. Now, granted, even if that happened, I still think there would need to be a very meaningful conversation about what about the Palestinians who live in the West Bank, in Judea and Samaria, in what they would call Palestine, because
that was there.
I think as Jews we need to acknowledge something. You know, we sit around and we talk about how important this land is to us and how it is, and especially Judea and Samaria, the West Bank. And we call it Judea and Samaria on purpose. We don't say that lightly. We're not doing it just to be obnoxious. We're doing it because it is Judea, because we are the Jews from Judea, and that was what it was biblically. And much of our history, of our ancient history, lies in that area, in Shiloh, right, or Shiloh, where our first altar stood, and where, you know, much of our stories happened was in the West Bank. Hebron, right? Hebron, the city of Hebron, is second holiest site to Jews. It's where we believe Abraham went and bought land and buried, and he himself was buried there along with his wife and their children and their grandchildren. And that's important. And we should never stop talking about it, because regardless of what happens, it will always be important to us. But one thing that I think we also need to acknowledge is that this land has also become important to the Palestinians. And it isn't just about having a state for them, the same way that for us it wasn't just about having a state anywhere, it was about having a state in our land. And they feel the same way. They want a state in what they believe is their land. And they feel very connected to that land. And to diminish that, or to say, well, they could just move into Jordan. The same way, well, as a Jew, would you be okay if I just said, well, you could just move to Uganda? No, we wouldn't.
Right.
The same way that they are not. And I think that needs to be said, because, you know, we want people to respect how we say it and what we say about this being our land and us feeling connected to it. And I think we need to give the same acknowledgement to Palestinians, who also, after generations, feel very connected to this land. And they don't want to live anywhere else. And many of them want independence in their land. And some might say to me, no, they don't, Charlotte. They would happily live in a Jewish state. And I think that's anecdotal evidence. And I think there are some Palestinians today who would say, I would be fine living in a Jewish state. But I don't think they mean forever. I think some of them would say, today, I don't like the Palestinian Authority. I think they're corrupt and not helpful. And I think if I had to choose between them or Israel, I would choose Israel. But that doesn't mean that that's what they want permanently.
Right.
I think there's a follow-up question that needs to be asked there that many don't ask because they don't want to know the answer to it. And so I think we need to, the two of us and the Jewish people, you know, there's a lot of similarities here between us and the Palestinians. And I think actually the craziest thing is that, you know, we're fighting over something, which is this land, when really, if we push past all of the ideology and the hatred and the conflict, the simple fact is that we both care so much about the same piece of land. Isn't that something that could, rather than divide us, unite us and help us solve our differences? Just a thought.
To stay up to date with JTV content, click subscribe here if you're on YouTube and hit the alarm bell. And if you're on Facebook, hit the like button, and under following, click see first. If you enjoy watching JTV content and want to help us continue to grow, please consider making a donation to us by clicking here.